So I was born in the 90s, so I guess I technically grew up in the 90s, but I wasn't thriving in the 90s, if that makes sense. But I do remember everyone, and I mean everyone, talking about a specific toy. In fact, the release date for this specific toy was right around Christmas. And it sold for $35 back then. Now you can find this toy for almost $70 at some stores, which is just insane. But it was all that people could talk about. Hey, have you seen this toy? Hey, do you have any extra? Hey, I just bought like 30 of these and I'm making $100 off of these. You got to get this toy. It's the toy of the year. And I'm not even kidding. It was Black Friday. And I remember there being news articles and everything about people getting into literal fights to get this toy for the Christmas and holiday seasons. And this toy was so popular that by within the next year, they had already sold over 27 million of these items. And this toy went by so fast because it was one of the newer toys that was quote unquote cutting edge of emerging technology. And the slogan for this toy is, the more you play with me, the more I do, I will keep amazing you. And little did parents know is that these toys will soon have a nationwide ban. It will forever bring controversy and scares all the way up through 2025, and have a whole section of the internet just diving into the conspiracy of these toys. This is the cybersecurity research of tech inside children's toys, and we're going to find out what harm it actually brings to children and their parents. So, hi everyone, and welcome to Cyberspeak Labs Defenders and Lab Coats podcast. My name is Reanna Schultz, and I'll be your aide today as I guide you through new learning opportunities here in Cyberspeak Labs. We are doing something super fun I like to introduce, where true crime meets cybersecurity. So in today's episode, we're going to be going over the emerging technology in children's toys and what they truly can do. I really think it's important that you all know what these toys are capable of, and then also understanding the privacy policy, because I know a lot of people that have a lot of tech in their house, whether it's an Alexa, a Google Home, their computer, and they also let their kids use tablets and everything else, play Roblox, Fortnite, whatever the case is. But understanding the privacy policy and how data is used to market your child is absolutely important. Like, this is your child, and you should know what people are doing with their data, because again, your child's just turning into a marketing cow for advertisements and you don't even know about it. It's really wild. So to help you all learn, we're going to be going over three distinct toys here. We're going to be going over the 1998 Furby, its evolution. Then we're going to be going over one of the first smart dolls named Cayla, and then a recently banned teddy bear who gave rated R advice to minors. So since we're going over some heavy topics, I do want to have a quick disclaimer for you all. We will be going over subjects that could cause anxiety, paranoia, especially if you're afraid of people watching you or have concerns about espionage and stuff like that. We will be hitting some of those topics, and then towards the end of this episode, I will do my best and my editors to do best to blur and censor things out, mostly for algorithms and for your guys' safety. So just be very cautious with this episode. If you need to take breaks, please take breaks. If you need to mute some specific pieces of the episode, please do so. Mental health is very important, so I really encourage you guys to take care of yourself. And of course, we have many other episodes you can listen to, especially if you're on the YouTube channel. So feel free to tune into those episodes as well. I also want to give a quick shout out to all the listeners who do listen. Your support has been fantastic. We have reached in the top 30% of best videos on Spotify podcasting, which is insane. I did pull some metrics and we have over 1,000 downloads across all of our platforms. And this podcast has been going for a year now. And I really enjoy the support you all give. It's fantastic. And I'm looking forward into 2026. Now, I do want, before I go into this research, I do want to promote a nonprofit called the Ginger Hacker Initiative. The Ginger Hacker Initiative is to help others get into cybersecurity. So whether you're a learning student, whether you're going through a career change, the Ginger Hacker Initiative really supports certifications and continuous education for them around. Cyberspeak Labs is a proud sponsor of them, and if you want to check them out, the link to their website and their content is located below. So, without further ado, let's put on our science lab coats and enter the lab to learn. Okay, so I have done a lot. And I mean a lot of research in my life. And especially when I do episodes for this channel, there's some things that will not leave my brain. One of them being John McAfee. I have a weird corner in my brain that is just dedicated to weird things John McAfee did. And there's other random facts that nobody cares about. So I can't figure out what category Furbies are in. But all I have to say is I rabbit holed so far down the internet hole that I probably have lost a core childhood memory because now it's been replaced by Furby and Furby facts. Like, for example, I was so far down the rabbit hole that I found information about the voice actors for Furby. So if you don't know much about Furby, they speak a language called Furblish, and it's absolutely adorable. It's not Simlish like Sims. It is Furblish, and it's so cute. And one of the voice actresses, she was in a lot of my childhood favorite movies, like Scooby-Doo Zombie Island. She made the yodeling noises for Jessie in Toy Story 2. And then she also played as the Siamese cats in Lady and the Tramp. And I was just so excited to like find such a talented voice actress be part of Furby. Now, she's no longer with us, but again, that is one of those random fun facts. I'm like, wow. So anyways, my rabbit holing about this kid's toy was so bad. I actually went to look at buying Furby just to unbox and review this episode. Now, I did buy a Furby. And if you're watching the video version of the podcast, I'll show some clips of me unboxing at some point in this episode. But I do not recommend shopping for a Furby around the holidays, even in 2025. It was just absolute chaos. It was so, I had to go home and take a nap. I had to like sit in the dark because it was just, I was over censored. Just too much happened. I also found an amazing Reddit thread where people talked about creepy things that happened with their Furby, and I think a few of them are going to be worth highlighting, but I'm going to do it towards the end of the Furby research because I will say there is a lot to unpack with this little toy. And I want to start with the design of the Furby because knowing how the Furby works, the origin of the Furbs, and everything that comes behind it, I think is really important leading up to a lot of the contraband that happened with Furbies. Now, when Furby was invented, it had a really wholesome story behind it. It's absolutely adorable. The guy that helped invented Furby, his name was Dave Hampton. So him and his friend Caleb Chong had spent a total of 9 months going through developing, making circuits and everything. And the name Furby for this toy came from Dave's son. Dave had held up like a ball and fur, and his kid goes, oh, a Furby, because a ball has fur. And so that's how the name Furby stuck. It's pretty cute. So David and Caleb eventually made connections with a guy named Richard. Richard's very important here because he is the one that got them to sell the concept of Furby to Tiger Electronics, which is a subsidiary of Hasbro today. Now, the toy made its first preview at the 1998 American International Fair. So this was held in New York. It's a very big convention, all of these new emerging techs and toys. And they made a hit with Furby. It was a huge hit. And it was one of the first, I would say, major toys to have a breakthrough where technology was marketed towards kids in a successful way.
What's that? It's my Furby. Furby loves your lavender.
So once they hit the fair, October 2nd, 1998, Furby hit the market.
I waited in line at 9:30 for the doors to open at Sears. They were expecting a shipment and they told me when to come, and I came there at 9:30 with many people.
I will say Furbies, they look, if I could describe it, they look uncanny, but they're also like super cute at the same time. I don't know. I guess it's just what it is. I don't have a word for it other than it's cute and uncanny. So cute and there you go. There's a new word. So it's not a shock that these toys were popular because they were weird looking, but they were also super cute at the same time, and especially with the Furbish language. It just sold the markets. Now, luckily, for the research of this podcast, the internet is a very lovely place where people sell vintage toys online. And I wanted to see some of the original advertisement because when we do this research for the podcast, especially leading up to major, in my opinion, historical events, I want to see what got everyone so involved. And the marketing for this, knowing what technology is today, and think about 1998, the marketing, in my opinion, ages very well. And these are things that you still see on kids' boxes that are enticing to make them want to buy, make them want to engage, or have a demo in the store. So one of the phrases on the box says, "The more you play with me, the more I do." I can say more than 800 phrases. I communicate with other Furbies and teach them games and songs and tricks. So this box is saying, hey, play with this toy. You can unlock all of these phrases. But if you get more Furbies, you can have Furbies talk to each other and have a Furby herd. And I also kind of chuckled to myself. At the bottom of the box, I had the original Furby website, and it was http://furby.com. If you go to it today, it's replaced by HTTPS. And when you buy domains, the S means secure. And so a lot of the times when you buy domains these days, you can also buy the security cert to make it secure. So this allows end-to-end encryption. Basically, it's a safe way to browse websites for a user. You don't think about security. It just lets you be there, especially if you're buying something online. You don't want to be buying through an unsecure website. It's just, there's nothing protecting your card payment. It's just a lot of grossness. So I always tell people, make sure you check out the HTTPSs on websites. So yeah, of course, naturally, I'm like, I wonder what this website looked like in 1998. And so I went to the Internet Archives, which is one of my favorite places on the internet. I love the Internet Archives because you can literally see what the internet was at a specific point in a snapshot. So yeah, you bet I rabbit holed down the Internet Archives, and it was just absolutely nostalgic. And if you're watching the video, I'll post some of the pictures and stuff that I found. If not, and you're listening in your car or whatever, it's nostalgic. I had a lot of the Lisa Frank, bright colors, the online games, and there was like a whole little corner where you can download coloring books, and it brought back childhood memories because that was the internet for me back in the day. And of course now there's just everything's so modern and sleek and just ads popping everywhere in your face, and it's just whatever. So the overall 1998 Furby box, it did give me some questions if I did see this the first time. Again, reading this as it is in 2025, I like to think about, how would this evolve with smart technology? And this toy, in my opinion, aged well. People still talk about it. There's still new gens, and they offer a lot of things based off of that first gen. So that first gen Furby, it was a gold mine. Now, if you really want to think 1998, things connecting to your home Wi-Fi and home internet besides a computer, it really wasn't a popular thing. Small home and offices were just emerging. You also have to think about what's going on around that time period, like Y2K. We have all of like this discussion about elf bowling. We like the word hackers and cybersecurity. it was a topic, but in my opinion, it wasn't well known at that time. So, Internet of Things, things connecting to your Wi-Fi and your internet, like your Alexa or your dishwasher, because that's the thing, baby monitors, whatever that was, in my opinion, it really wasn't a popular demand until 2012. And that's just because that's where technology started being integrated into a lot more things besides just a computer at your desk. Anyways, with all of that being said, I can safely assume that the 1998 Furby was not connected to the internet at all. In fact, any of the Furbies and the gens, they have Furby apps for the Furby, but the Furby product itself was never sold on the internet. And if you watch my unboxing video that I'll have towards the end, it even clearly states that it's not connected to the internet. Now, Furby wasn't just a hot topic in a household in 1998. All of a sudden, people had all these toys. They had all the Furbies. People were talking about Furbies. Kids were bringing Furbies to school. Furby, 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 Furby.
This Christmas, it's Furby. You likely won't spot one on store shelves, though. There's just too many people trying to find one.
And then the United States government issues a ban warning. And then all of a sudden, airplanes started banning Furbies. And then allegedly, some other branches in the military started banning Furbies, and everyone's like, why, what's wrong with Furbies? We all have Furbies, everywhere, Furbies. And in 1999, the news went absolutely wild over Furbies, and not for the good reason. Again, it was the hottest toy in the market. It was probably in almost every middle class, upper class home at this point. And I went back to my internet troll of forums, and I found this very old article from BBC in 1998. And the title of this article read, America's Furbies or Furby Spy. Let me read this article for you. Thousands of families across the United States could be harboring potentially dangerous double agents, also known as Furbies. The Furby, a highly sought after Christmas toy in 1998, is now a high-ranking public enemy and has been banned from National Security Agency premises in Maryland. It goes in to say that people are afraid that Furbies are becoming spies. And that might seem silly in some way, but at the same time, like, it's an actual concern. And so then airlines started banning Furbies because they were afraid of the battery in the Furby. It had nothing to do with NSA's wording. And people were taking photos of the band logos of airplanes, like, hey, you cannot have XYZ if you enter a plane. Yeah, anyways, the world went absolutely mad about these Furbies. And you also have to think, I mentioned this a few seconds before, this was right before Y2K. So people are going even more nuts, thinking that the world is ending, the internet's crashing, it's the end of the world, Furbies are going to be taking over because somehow they play a huge piece in the end of the world saga. They're spying on my children, they're spying on my family, I can't take them on airplanes, we can't go to Disney with Furbies. And you know what? To me, I don't, like, just reading some of the stuff before like 2000, it just all feels like a fever dream to me. I'm like, wow, I forgot we worried about that stuff. So, and even like some internet users, oh my gosh, some internet users just went wild over their Gen 1 Furby. Even some users, even today, still go on Reddit and talk about their experience with the Furbies in the 90s. This one Reddit user, just, I was laughing. I have to share it with you guys. So the OP said, when I was younger, I shared a room with my older brother. And like many kids in the late 90s, we owned a Furby. After some time had passed, we no longer found the Furby to be entertaining. We took out the batteries to keep it from randomly turning on. And we left it alone because just another toy collecting dust in our room. Anyways, fast forward, the Furby had just uttered the phrase, "Do you want to play with me? Do you want to play?" My brother and I just sat there terrified, but as time passed, we mustered up the courage to take a closer look, which we now believe to be a possessed Furby. We checked to see if the batteries had been replaced. They had been not. Needless to say, we shortly threw our once beloved toy in the trash. My brother and I are both still convinced that Furbies are not manufactured, but instead spawns in the pits and are sold to children with an intent of traumatizing their innocent minds. So I did do some research on that, and this kind of led to me diving into the hardware side of Furbies. Now, the OP had made a comment. The Furby said, "Do you want to play?" And there is a whole Furby wiki out there. I know, super shocking, right? There is a whole Furby wiki out there that talks about what a Furby is programmed to say. And "do you want to play" is actually one of the phrases that Furby can say. And there has been some, I would say, known issues with Furbies turning on and off randomly with or without batteries. So I'm guessing if you hit the motor just right in a Furby, it will play its little sound box. But luckily for us, because we live in a world of technology, we can easily find US patents, and especially with anything around the thousands. Google, there's also like a whole like patent website you can search on, but patents.google.com is usually my go-to, especially with research for this podcast, because I just want to know how things are made. And I did find the one for the Furby. So if you are watching the video, I will flash some images across the screen to help us here. If not, you are listening, you're just gonna have to hear how terribly I'm describing things. So long story short, what I have found with these patents is that Furbies are terrifyingly ugly without the fur. And just looking through the patent images, one really stood out to me that's made me feel like I found the man behind the curtain in Wizard of Oz. So let me read you a section from the patent that every from the NSA should have known prior to making the entire United States petrified with these cute little fur balls. Here is the abstract. And I can list pieces of majority of what this toy is compelled on the video version because it's just a lot of fluff. But abstract version is, it's a very compact interactive toy that provides a highly lifelike is the word here, an intelligent seeming interaction with the user thereof. The toy can take the form of a small animal-like creature having a variety of moving body parts that are controlled, coordinated with lifelike mechanisms. The sensors also allow several of the other toys to interact with each other, and the body parts are driven for movement by a single motor. Again, my opinion, did we jump the gun on that? Who knows, right? I'm sure everyone has their reasons, but I feel like having a little disclaimer as to like, hey, just be careful with tech toys. Not the fact that these Furby like gremlin things are taking over the world and you need to throw your Furby away. That doesn't that doesn't just bring harm to everyone in the United States. And then don't forget Y2K. The world is ending. We hate computers. So just whatever. So the fact that all of the parts were disclosed in this patent, and just because it makes sense, right? So even though we have proven Furby can't really be recorded, or that Furby can be possessed, or again, it's still a very uncanny toy that still burns in the brain. So you know what I did? I went to Five and Below, and for, I believe it was $6, maybe $5. I just remember it was a fair price for being Five and Below, so it's probably $5. And I found a Furby that's insanely cheap compared to the ones, I don't know, that are out there for like $70. I don't understand why. But good news, I have the clip of me unboxing it. So watch this clip. You can see what a modern day Furby looks like. And yeah. Now, the next few toys I did not purchase, mostly because the Furby isn't Wi-Fi connected. And the next two toys are just, it's just straight out of a horror film, I swear. So if you ever seen the movie Megan, the doll had to be somewhat part of an inspiration for this movie. It's just, there's a lot of creepy coincidences here. So if you remember the 90s, besides the Furby craze, there was one other toy called Techno, the robotic puppy. And the maker of this toy his name is Bob. He invented what was claimed to be the next generation of toys and dolls. And he invented this one toy called My Friend Cayla, also known as the Cayla doll. And Cayla doll was just your, in my opinion, average size doll. It reminded me a lot of the American Girl dolls, where they all have backstories. They have like cute little accessories to go with their story, and it's very cute. You know, it's just really cute. And what made this toy, quote unquote, cutting edge is that the toy actually had a microphone. So the microphone allowed kids to ask questions.
Cayla almost anything. What's your name? My name's Cayla and yours is Abby.
And the doll was running on a iOS mobile software, and it was connected to what we consume, an adult's phone, through Bluetooth. And so that way, if a child asked a doll a question, the doll can use the mobile carrier servers, reach out to the internet, get an answer, bring it back, and then give it to the child.
What's this? The Eiffel Tower in France. Incredible!
Now, the doll the doll also provided text to speech, and so that was able to help with multiple languages and stuff like that. And so again, nothing wrong with this idea. But if you have been a listener for this podcast for some time, we all know that devices designed for children connected to the internet is probably one of the worst inventions ever, and should just, in my opinion, be completely banned. Toys should not belong on the internet, period. This doll, so Furbies were released in 98. This doll was released in 2014, and it lasted on the market for 3 years. And that was not a long time for a doll. It did not age well. So, at the time, when the doll was released in 2014, it was rising in popularity. And in fact, it had also received an award for the most innovative toy of the year from the London Toy Industry Association. In fact, the doll even gave itself the slogan, "World's Best Talking Doll." Sure. So eventually, seals were becoming very popular in Europe because this is essentially where the inventor of the toy was located. That's where the distribution started. And it eventually made its way to the United States in 2015. So again, I have to admit, the doll is very marketable. And again, it has a backstory. Cayla, the doll, she is 7 years old. She lives with her mom and dad. She has 2 other siblings. She's a middle child. Her dad, ironically, works at a very big tech company in London as an IT person. He works a lot. He's gone a lot. Mom's home a lot. Mom likes to garden. There's like a whole story with it. And so, needless to say, unlike the American Girl dolls, where the doll's story is sold in children's books and, you know, outfits and stuff like that, Cayla's doll has its story programmed into her quote-unquote memory, which is really just a database hosted on a cloud service out in the ether. Now, the creator of the doll emphasized she's not a search engine. She's just a 7-year-old girl. Insert clip about Megan. Thanks, Bob, the inventor. She is a search engine. Sorry, but she is. Now, I did some digging with this doll, and it was so hard to find information about this doll, which I don't know why Furbies were way easier to find than My Friend Cayla. But this doll's privacy policy, finding the app, it took some time. And I think it's because mostly the domains for this doll, like the website and everything, they're park domains, meaning that the domains are bought, they're purchased, and there's just no content. So you go to the website and it's just an error, but the domain is bought, because I tried looking at buying it. You can't buy it right now. And the doll was sold in multiple different countries. So I tried looking at the domains in the US and then going to Sweden and then also Germany. It's just the domains, they're there, but they're not. I decided to go back to my favorite corner of the internet archives. And you bet I found the website from 2014 on Internet Archives, which the website, it doesn't render friendly. It took a lot of time with my browser. So I eventually carefully navigated through the different pages until I found the privacy policy for My Friend Cayla. And I will say, this is the first time I've ever seen a privacy policy that that's background was a shade of pink. And I quickly scrolled through this privacy policy, and I'm gonna be honest, I found it very extremely boring. And I decided to submit this privacy policy to another corner of the internet that is my favorite. This corner is called ChatGPT. So, ChatGPT broke down the privacy policy for me. It just seemed too technical, even with the chat GPT breakdown. And by too technical, meaning I was way too lazy to read the million red flags that chat GPT found. And so I was like, hey chat, can you dumb this down, like if you're telling a 5-year-old this? And so I give it credit. Chat GPT gave me smiley faces for the things that were good, and then it gave me sad faces for the things that were red flags or not associated to, I would say, legalese in today's sense. So let me read you some of the summaries from ChatGPT. So one of the section talks about parental consent. They claim in their privacy policy that parental consent is required. That's good. But there's no explanation of how consent is verified. There's no method for revalidating that this is an adult, and there's no audit trail explained for this. And then this is in 2014, so children parental privacy acts have changed since then. 2015 was when the United States started rolling one out, and then Europe has more recent ones. In my opinion, that is what should be probably the standard for most countries. A lot of big red flags basically summarized here is that the toy is actively listening. The toy has instructions that says make sure it's in a quiet area with just the child. Found that kind of creepy, but I guess if you want the microphone to work well. And then it also shares what your child is asking. And it's not very clear what's happening to what your child is asking. And it's made for kids, but the privacy policy makes it not sound like it's made for kids. So again, this is 2014. Things have changed. We have evolved. We have sometimes learned from our evolving mistakes here. So this was released in 2014. 2015, a ethical pen tester by the name of Ken Monroe came out, and he basically demonstrated how easy it was to hack this doll. And again, the doll used Bluetooth and a microphone. And this is what gave the doll its quote-unquote magical powers to answer questions that kids gave. The Bluetooth connection was used on a unsecure network, and yeah, just not great. So basically, for those who don't understand that, this is the equivalent to someone leaving their car unlocked, unattended in a downtown area. They walk away. So basically, because the car's unlocked, anyone can open it, anyone can help themselves, anyone can sit in it, hotwire it, drive it, break the windows, whatever. But when it's secured, so a secure connection, then someone with key has access to that car. That person with key can let specific people in and stuff like that. So long story short, taking that analogy, basically Cayla was a toy that anyone can use to eavesdrop on children or a household within a 33-foot radius. Yeah, that doesn't make anyone feel good. And especially if the doll is on Bluetooth, you can probably hold up your phone and just connect via Bluetooth to the doll, especially if there wasn't a password on it. So any of your neighbors could be just connecting to the doll and listening to what the doll has to say, hypothetically. So anyways, once the news broke through about how easily this doll can be breached, the doll was immediately banned within the next few years. In 2017. Like I said, the doll was active between 2014, 2017, and the German government in 2017 was like, hey guys, yeah, we encourage you all, parents, to destroy this Cayla doll because, yeah, we kind of have concerns of it being used for espionage. So if you could just get rid of that doll, that'd be great. And the United States didn't ban the doll, but production did stop shortly after. And the mobile application for the doll, yeah, it's gone. It's not on mobile app stores. You can find some really sketchy versions of it, but I don't recommend downloading them. So security researchers, they encourage parents like, hey, if you have a kid's toy, it doesn't need to be online. If your kid has questions, you know, you're a parent, you should answer your kids' questions. Or if, you know, tell them to ask your teacher if they don't know. And it's no different, in my opinion, especially with a stall. It's no different than letting a stranger play with your kid. You put something on the internet, you leave it alone with your kid. It's just not, you just don't. It's the equivalent of bringing a stranger in your house, in my opinion. So, now there were some good things that came out of this. It did bring awareness with children privacy. Children should have the rights to know what their data is being used for. So privacy laws did change shortly after. And security researchers, again, really continued pressing the security education about children's toys being online. And this concern also kind of gave some whiplash to Barbie. Barbie had released a similar type of toy where Barbie was connected to the internet, Barbie can talk, and shortly after the Cayla incident broke through the internet, Hello Barbie, just quietly went away. People were like, what happened to Hello Barbie and Barbie Smart Dream House? And it's just like, nah, we don't talk about that. Which I feel bad for Barbie. Barbie and tech just doesn't seem to get along, especially after the 2024 incident when Barbie had a QR code on the packaging and you would scan it and it would go to a very graphic adult website. So yeah, that was fixed shortly after too. But anyways, some other good news. If you're ever in Sweden and you should visit the Museum of Failures because they proudly display the My Friend Cayla doll. Or if you're ever in Berlin in Germany, you should check out their spy museum because Cayla is also proudly displayed there as its first toy for espionage and surveillance. So a lot of fun facts there. Now, I really want to end this episode on one last toy that just absolutely just irritates me because apparently there's no regulations on what we can sell to children and adults. But this one toy went viral because it was giving kids explicit advice. And again, it really advertised on the fact of AI. So let me play a news clip real quick for you guys on essentially the headliner for this.
Sales of Kumma Teddy have now been suspended after researchers found the bear openly discussed sexually explicit and dangerous content with kids, including how to light a match.
So yeah, this toy again went viral for explicit advice, and I went to go look for this toy. I was really curious, mostly because I want to know how much people paid for just to have their kid be told where kitchen cutlery is and what to do with it. But there were a lot of red flags. And before I go into the mechanics about the toy itself, I want to talk about the website. So it's important, in my opinion, especially if you're a parent and you're buying tech toys that are online. There are a lot of pop-up stores, especially through Amazon, Shopify, Temu, you name it. If you're buying a toy that literally has a microphone that's connected to the internet, that has Bluetooth, please take the extra step and go to the actual website. Because if you see, I like to use the phrase, if you know how a hot dog's made, you don't want to eat it. It's the same like that for tech. Now, this toy is from a online store called Follow Toy. And I was like, what is this? Because I'm like, oh, maybe it's another subsidiary of Hasbro or another major tech company, blah, blah, blah. No, it is literally a pop-up store that is based in Singapore, which means this country has very different local governing laws about data collection, how tech is made, how tech is produced, what happens, how you can sell it. Very different than how we do things in Europe and the United States. And unlike Europe, the US has pretty, in my opinion, gray lines with data sharing, data location, especially for minors. So most of the time, as long as the quote unquote bare minimum is met when disclosing the type of data that's collected, sure, send the toy over. We don't care. Plug it in. It's fine. It meets the requirements for our children. Now, if you're curious about your local laws, whether it's state or federal, I encourage you to check out your government's website for more details, because some of the things are pretty shocking. Yeah, it's disgusting to me. So when you go to the Follow Toys website, I'm going to flash a couple of images on the screen here. Majority of the marketing is all AI generated. I'm not even kidding. Like the fingernails here, like it doesn't make sense. The fingers are off. Some of the images are way too HD 4K filtered. It's uncanny. Like you know something's off with it. And you can also see where some of the lines are off and whatnot. But to me, this was a red flag. I don't like marketing that is generated by a computer, because it doesn't feel authentic to me. It doesn't feel real. It feels last minute rush put together. But that's just me as a consumer, not as a person in tech. Now, another red flag to me was the image of the actual teddy bear. And I didn't catch this at first. I kind of saw it and I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, something's weird about this photo. And if you look, it's very subtle, but you can see where they had overlaid a shape on what appears to be a price tag. And this makes me think, oh, this teddy bear probably wasn't made by them, which makes sense, but not sense. So I'm like, where did this bear come from? And so I did a quick reverse image search of this bear, and guess what? The bear is not made from Follow. It's made from a distributor who sells the bears in bulk from China. So if you buy 200 of these bears in bulk, it is $725 US a bear. And then this company is adding this quote unquote AI computer into the bear, and then they're selling it for $99. Plus you also have to pay for shipping, it looks like. So they're literally making over $90 of profit for this bear. And I was like, that just feels gross. That just feels absolutely gross. And then the third flag here, again, I talk about the pop-ups. And again, nothing, in my opinion, Shopify, I'm all for small businesses and stuff like that. But to me, this just feels dirty. It feels like it just doesn't feel right. It feels like you're trying to trick people to buying this product. Like, it almost feels like things you buy on Shein and Wish, but it's not really Shein and Wish. So again, you're literally buying a random voice box from Singapore, from a mass-produced teddy bear factory in China for $100 plus international shipping and handling because tariffs. Now, I also found I was just so annoyed by this bear. I don't know why, but I found the street address that they put on their website, and I never traveled to Singapore. It's on my bucket list. It looks absolutely gorgeous, but I don't know if it's common to share businesses at the same address, but here's the street view of the building. I also don't know if you can access some of the inside buildings with Google Maps, but I somehow was able to click and drop my little Google Map dude in there. So here's a picture of that. I also don't know with Singapore if you're able to share the same businesses at the same location, but this isn't even the business. It's a STEM like training facility basically. So anyways, just this alone, it's a hard no for me. Absolutely hard no, because it's so many. There's 3 red flags. I haven't even got to like the privacy policy, but don't worry, I did, because I adore you all, and you know I have to check out a good dumpster fire. So just reading the privacy policy, it felt like AI. It's just there's legal words that weren't in a legal jargon, and I'm not a lawyer by any means, but just like the sentences itself, it was saying stuff, but it didn't have intent, if that makes sense. And it felt very generic. And so what I did is I copied that privacy policy, and you know what I did? That's right, I threw it at ChatGPT, and I said, hey chat, is this AI generated? And it's like, well, it has a lot of, you know, things that I would put in. I'm not saying it is, but it looks like things I would do. And I would assume, especially if it's hosted through Shopify has a feature where you can make privacy policies and they can just generate it for your e-commerce website. Again, is that 1,000% legal proof? No, it's not, because it needs to be catered towards your product, but it's at least something to have out there because, again, we're meeting bare minimum requirements here. So I did have chat also review the privacy policy because I wanted to know what red flags were there, and I was not going to read all of this giant privacy policy. I just wasn't. And so, for one, that chat had pointed out, it had no mentions of controls and how data is processed. So, how is your child who's playing with this toy? How are their questions and answers gonna be saved? How long is the data retention? Where are they storing it? Is it on your local computer? Is it at the random Street View? It doesn't really make sense. It feels like a lot of smoke and mirrors. And again, there's a microphone collecting what your child says, storing it in a cloud service somewhere that is nobody knows. How long is that gonna be there? Are they selling advertisements through this? Who else is sharing this cloud? Who else has access to your child's data? It feels dirty, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And I'm not a fan. I would never ever introduce this toy in my Wi-Fi because I don't know where any of this tech came from. And it feels like this teddy bear feels like the equivalent. Oh, by the way, there's other toys on this website, like a dancing cactus thing, and it's just whatever. But this teddy bear, it feels like I went on eBay, bought someone's used laptop, came home and just powered it right up, connected it to my internet, didn't put a new image on it, just used and ready to go. Like it does not feels good. So by no means at all, like it's a no for me, dog. It's just a no. And now it's not also a surprise at all that the sales for this toy was suspended for the United States, at least. So I guess long story short, has there actually been a case where a hacker hacked into a kid's toy and they were spying on your kid and your house and giving your kid nasty advice? Long story short, no, at least not publicly. But having information about these toys should bring insight to parents or even, things in your home that's connected to the internet. And my motto for smart technology is just because you can doesn't mean you should. And if it doesn't need to be on the internet, don't connect it to the internet. I don't keep my oven on the internet. I don't keep a lot of my home tech on the internet because I don't need that. And same thing with kids' toys. If your kid, in my opinion, doesn't understand the security of it or even the dangers of being online, they probably shouldn't have a toy that's online either. Be present, in my opinion. Be there if your kid has questions. Don't give them a toy for questions. I'm also very curious about Elon Musk. He's allegedly dropping cyborg babysitters. I'm very curious how that one's going to turn out. So maybe we'll come back next year and do a review of chaos with that. So again, I'm curious, right? I have a range of listeners, and I'm curious if you all have heard of any of these fun toys, or maybe you have a story yourself with a Furby or smart tech. And if you like to share, comment below. I love reading your guys' comments. It's super fun. Additionally, if you want to continue to support my channel or my podcast, make sure to like and subscribe and share. Your support is why I keep finding fun research. So again, thank you guys so much for joining me in the lab for this episode, and I will see you again soon. Bye!